Go, for like atomic bomb looking thing.
Oh,
my
yeah.
God,
Well,
it's like, they said it was a legal one too. Some people had asked.
It was legal?
Yeah,
Oh.
they said, somebody had asked, I mean, it looked like an atomic.
yeah, like the cloud or whatever.
Yeah.
We lied.
Okay, well, yeah, that's good. Call the meeting to order. Oh, Chris is gonna open the door. Okay. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, hopefully everybody had a good 4th of July. I was devastated about that deal in Texas.
Oh my gosh, we were talking about that with Pastor BJ, and that is so sad. And all the more reason people get Everbridge for emergencies.
Mhm.
You know, we talked about that too.
Good grief.
I mean, it happened fast. There's no.
Well, and that's, because, I mean, it's hard to believe that it happened so fast, but when they show,
It showed the thing.
when you see how fast that water went up, I mean,
I can relate a little, not to like that extent, but
well,
when
yeah.
Rock Creek comes up, it comes up fast.
Fast. I don't
And then-
think people realize it, you know.
But here's the other thing. So when we're trying to put stuff away and water's up, on your legs, the snakes and the bugs and the mice and the rats, and they were talking about the snakes,
Oh, yeah.
and so,
Plus, it's so humid in Texas anyway. I can't imagine.
well, anyway. Prayers go to them folks. Who wants to start this morning?
I really didn't have a whole lot. I didn't have any meetings. I did volunteer down at the Freedom Fest a little bit, and that was a good time. There was a lot of people down there. It was a little warm, but other than that, of course, went to the parade and all that other stuff. But otherwise, I didn't have any meetings or anything. I did have a question for Betsy at some point. I don't know if this is the time to ask, but are we going to go over that, the recording, that new law that goes into effect July 1st about having the recording the live sessions? I don't know. What statute number is that? Do you know, or can we talk about that, just to go
Yes.
over what we're supposed to be doing? Is it all or none type deal?
Yes.
Yes, it's an all or none, so that's what we're talking a little bit about.
Yeah, she just said that we would have to
It's
start
our
doing the
House Bill
department head meetings.
2134. Okay.
And we talked a little bit about how in the department head meeting, we'll either have to only have one commissioner at the 10, or we'll have to, go ahead and put them online and make the live meeting.
And I think they did that because there were some municipalities that were making decisions in their work sessions without it being recorded. And so,
I think why I asked, and I just, I think I heard, like the school district, was advised not to go with it, so.
not to do any
Right.
recordings.
Right.
I know,
Yeah,
I think people will be upset about that.
And,
I mean, I think we can still record all of them.
All, yeah. Because the only thing we shut it off for, all our work sessions were always on YouTube. The only thing we shut off was the department head meetings. And I, the reason why I felt like that was okay was we weren't making any decisions. And I feel like, we can joke around and build, team building and that kind of stuff
Department heads
without
are
them
all
feeling like, oh gosh, everybody's watching. We weren't hiding anything,
Right,
but
right.
But, the law's the law, I think.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
I
you had
think-
mentioned it, but I never, and I didn't go into looking for the statute or anything else, and I heard that over the weekend. It's like, I need to make sure that that's work.
So we're just gonna either, one of us will
That's
stay, or we can, whatever you guys wanna do is fine with me, but, you know, we can talk about it at our next meeting, it'll just be on record.
Okay.
Well, we could do it like our task force meetings
And just
and
one,
rotate.
sure,
And then you guys could give the update
Right.
to everybody.
Exactly.
well, and then it'll be, we can still do minutes for it too.
Yeah,
So,
Yes.
that's probably the way to go. Because I know
people feel uncomfortable,
they do.
yeah. And, you know, I mean, we're the elected officials, you know, that's something that we signed up for, but our department heads, you know, they're just like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, and it can still be open to the public. We just won't record it if only one of us is there.
Right.
So, but I do think I do think we should take minutes just to have that, because there's no reason for us not to report on those things, you know?
But, and we've had public in here.
Yeah.
Department meetings.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted
But good question.
that's all, that's really all I had.
I didn't have any meetings.
For you?
I know,
Ah,
I didn't have any.
you didn't
meetings.
even create one?
Well, I had a family in town, that was a lot more work than meetings, but nope. I didn't have many meetings, but, no, I did make it down to the park, which was the first time I've been there since I'm retired, so. It was hot but the kids had a lot of fun, so. it
I was
nice.
surprised at the number of comments on Facebook, you know, negative about and, you know, things, and, you know, I think
I
it was
saw
a
that
good,
too.
good time for people to bring their kids down, and I don't think the prices were necessarily outrageous, but I guess that's a conversation that they'll have to have. but-
Well, I don't think we realize how expensive it is to bring
Exactly,
all of
yeah.
those, because all of the entertainment besides the carnival was, you know, and the airplane rides, but all the entertainment, was free. And that costs a lot of money. And so how they make their money is selling beer, selling food, you know, getting those vendors in there and paying that. Because if the vendors aren't making money, they're not gonna come back and you're not gonna get that revenue. So,
I'm not sure who all was selling water, but, you know, I was at the Main Street tent and, you know, had the selling the water and, you know, some guy, they kept trying to give me $5. And I said, no, it's only $3, but they didn't have any, nobody ever complained about the price,
and you know, and I think if you walk in with a bottle of water, nobody's gonna stop you, but, you know, I just,
I mean, they definitely haven't gone to a sporting event or somewhere where you have
Yeah.
to pay $8 for a bottle of water or whatever, so.
no, I saw those too, and I thought, you know, it just costs
It
so
just
much
blows.
money to
You
send.
know, you have a good time and you think, you know, it's a nice festival, you know, to come to, and then, you know, to think that you have to have a bit of negative stuff
You know,
going on.
well, that's
Yeah.
the way it is
Yes,
everywhere
yes.
you go. Well, in the same way, I didn't have any meetings last week. Was able to make it down to the park. Actually, went down there 3 different nights, I guess. I wasn't able to make the parade. I don't know how that was, whether that was good or not.
That was good.
Our grandkids got so much candy.
But I did go to the wreath lighting of the Vietnam vet memorial. Then that's actually a nice breeze and it wasn't that hot at noon, so. But, yeah, I thought the entertainment was good. Did come in, Gary Burgess invited us to watch fireworks from the emergency management building in the parking lot. They do that every year. And they have kind of like a potluck. And it's a good view from there because you're just looking straight to the south, you know, from him. And so we did that. And then we had the opportunity to go to White City and watch our fireworks on Saturday night. Anyway. nice thing about going to the park though is you run into so many people and you visit and visit and visit. And
You guys sound like you're ready for me.
We were,
yeah.
Looks like we all survived the holiday weekend.
Yeah.
Crystal Malchos, Human Resource Director. I start with a few department head out of office notifications. Two of them are for me. You're already aware of them. I'm just putting it in writing so you have it. It includes my being out Wednesday to assist KAC with their interview process, and then my participation in the NACO conference. So I will not be here next Monday, but if I have anything for presentation, I'll have Tiffany present to you guys. I think it's good for her to get that once in a while, get that experience. Reminder that this Wednesday is the task force meeting, 8 a.m. in the Emergency Management Building. Tricia's on the schedule for this week. We have our potluck. We're going to be doing a county employee potluck on Wednesday, August 6th. It is 100% voluntary. Nobody is required to participate, nor do we require anybody to participate in order to eat. If they want to bring something, great. If they don't, they just want to show up and eat, we're not going to tell anybody that, hey, you didn't bring anything, you can't eat. So we're going to have it right in here because the clerk's office will be using the conference room. So we're going to try to do themes. So basically the theme is heritage. If you have, I don't know, maybe Italian heritage, and you want to bring something, we're just going to try to embrace that so that we get a little bit of everything. And we will also have a table set up specifically for those with special nutritional needs or allergies, etc. So we'll have that marked, and we just ask people to put their ingredients on there so all the employees know whether or not it's something safe for them to eat.
Can I interrupt you?
Absolutely.
One of these doesn't have the 3 lines for the commissioners.
It's the old one,
It's
but they've got plenty.
they're
I'll
putting some-
get that resent out again.
Okay.
Thank you for pointing that out. And then on July 21st and 23rd, which is a Monday and a Wednesday, I will be conducting some training at the sheriff's office with their staff, basically about HR 101, to help them understand what the pay grade and step scale is and how it works, what the different leaves, types of leave are, how they work, and just basically answer questions that they may have on a day-to-day basis, just to be there for them. So it's in a different building and it's difficult for them just to come over when they've got questions, to meet with them as a group and try to address all those issues so everybody's hearing the same thing at the same time from the same person. Tiffany will be going with me so that she can learn and add as necessary, and I'll have her flex her time that week. So that's basically all I have at this time. Does anybody have any questions?
No? Did you have a good point?
I did, thank you. The last thing is that I am finalizing review of the policy manual. I didn't get any negative feedback, so my goal is to send it to department heads for review and ask for it to be back probably within 2 weeks or so, and then hopefully have it set up and good to go by August 1st for employees.
now, when you're reviewing the handbook, you participate with the other department heads during the task force. I guess I haven't been in a meeting where do you sit down and talk about those? I mean, they're all kosher and discussed.
So that's why I'll send it to the department heads. I'm sure you can understand that too many people involved in it would just make it a mess. So basically,
We have reviewed policies with the
Yes.
task force.
yes, we have reviewed some policies, and if they've been approved, the task force reviews them, then I bring them to the commission to be reviewed. So now those are being put into the whole policy manual, so the other one doesn't keep saying this policy's been reviewed, see the new policy. As I pointed out, some highlights, those were new policies or addendums to policies. Those have not been taken to the department heads yet, so they will remain highlighted when they go, so they can see
I
what
like
was
the
added.
format of
Thank
that really well. I just was wondering, I think the task force is a great opportunity and, you know, a time for you to talk over that stuff. I was a little disappointed in the sense that, you know, and I'm not sure you discuss policies and some of that other stuff, because I understand when you have that many on a, you know, that many, you're gonna get all kinds of input, but in a way, that's what, to me, the task
Yeah,
force should.
depending on the policy, depends on whether or not it goes to them first. If it's something that we want employee feedback on, the clothing or the dress policy, dress code, for example, that went to them. But if it's something that affects the budget or law or something like that, it doesn't go to them, because I don't want them saying, hey, I want this, and then go, you know, first of all, we can't do that because we're a public sector, so we can't. Or do you know what that's gonna cost? And we don't have the budget for that. So if it's something like that, I don't take it to them
I don't
first.
know how you decide to reduce the number, but, you know, the ones that I've sat in, you know, I kind of feel like that, you know, there's a handful of people that participate.
Yes,
And then, you know, and so to me, the purpose of that task force should be to talk about things that they're happy or, you know, not happy about during that time. But I know as a former department head, you open yourself up to a lot, so I don't know.
there's a reason that there are no department heads on that task force. I'm the only one, that's because I lead it. I don't make.
I
all
just
the
wish there was more conversation
Yeah.
that.
We do discuss policies more often. I was told that the feedback I received is that we were making too many changes too quick. So they asked me to take a step back and maybe just go with what we've got so far before we start addressing more policy
Maybe
changes.
there's a topic or something that you could have and say, you know, we're gonna discuss this topic about FMLA, or, you know, like one time, and, you know, the good things and bad things, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't know, I mean, I think it's an awesome idea, and I'm glad that you have that, because I think the camaraderie and doing things together is a good opportunity for all the departments. We used to do things where we had them down there at the emergency management, I'm not sure that's where, are they always up here, or they?
You know, we always meet emergency
Down there?
management.
Okay.
Yeah, we only meet here if they've already got
Yeah.
it.
Well, I'm not by no means criticizing.
No,
It's just.
I'll take whatever
you know,
feedback I
just,
can get, good,
I
bad, or
wish there
otherwise.
was more input from all.
Yeah,
instead of
some-
just-
Well, we were going, like, we, almost every month they had a new one to
A new policy.
look at, and they were complaining that we were doing it too much, so.
Well,
I
yeah,
stepped back.
And it's like, and
Yeah.
Trish was nice enough,
Quarterly or something.
Trish was nice enough to point out, well, that's because some of our policies were over 10 years old and
Yeah.
they had to be updated.
Yeah,
So we did slow down a bit, so that's why I've been focusing on getting policy manual itself.
so
revised.
but whenever there's something that to be changed, that affects the employees, that they have input on that, for sure, they do.
Yeah, I do think that's a good idea. Maybe
Opportunity.
maybe we could start doing something just with the department heads, so we can get together and say, hey, what's your feedback on the policies and things? Not a department head staff meeting, because to be honest, they might not be comfortable talking in front of you guys. So,
Well, you know, and we said that before, I think I mentioned to you too, that sometimes, you know, I came down to visit with you a lot, but not everybody did.
Right.
But, you know, maybe that is something that maybe they want to, or maybe they don't, but it would be a good opportunity if they have, you know, the same type of things happening in their office. It's a good time to wrestle some of that out.
yeah, I agree. We do have some task force members that are a lot more involved than others, and some that will go back and tell their entire department everything. And some that's like, hey, did you guys have a task force meeting this month? We didn't hear anything.
I
So
saw
it's
you
just-
reinforcing to make sure you share with your
Yes.
department. No, I'm not criticizing at all. I just wish there was more, and, you know, the activities and everything. I'm sure the guys probably don't think it's as fun as the girls do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
And there's a reason that, for example, Public Works has 3 representatives, because they're such a large department, very diverse, and same with the sheriff's office. They didn't get as much attendance last time, but that's because they had a flooding that morning.
Sure, yeah.
But Roy Garrett, for example, he's very involved. He lets everybody know what's going on as best as he can. And even though they're not part of this building, he knows that there's a number of them that want to participate in that potluck. And I just think that's wonderful to get the departments to interact with each other and realize that we're not a siloed entity. We're all part of a bigger picture.
Yeah, I wish there was more input and more people involved in that because, some seem like they really don't want to be there. Some, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, I wish that.
Lead a horse to water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because it is voluntary. There's nobody that's forced to be on that committee.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice if department heads make sure, before you assign somebody, make sure they want to participate.
Exactly, yeah, true.
Yep.
Yes, so,
But
yeah.
no, I appreciate the feedback, even if it was negative. If there's something that needs to be improved, I'd like to know about it so I can work towards making it
I mean,
better.
we, a few of us, we had the same thing. We'd come to visit or whatever, then, sometimes it's like, it was always nice to, then you'd walk out of there thinking, why don't we just do that more often, and talk over from, the same type issues that are going on
Yep.
and stuff like that.
And there might be, sometimes you just talk about it and realize that there is no one right answer or one good answer,
Right.
but you feel better because you've talked about it and you know that you've
Right.
exhausted all the options.
Right, yeah. So no, I appreciate you doing that. I think it's a good opportunity for folks to get together, to do things together and build that camaraderie, but you want it to be something that they enjoy doing and don't feel like it's something they.
Yeah, I don't want it to be a chore.
Yeah.
It can be sometimes, I understand that when I said, hey, I need you to go back and do this, but that's the only way to make sure that we communicate with everybody the best way.
Because I know when we used to do United Way and there'd just be a handful, of people always doing that. And, sometimes you just get burned out as well.
Yes.
So you don't want to do that to those that are stepping up to do that. So anyway, I think it's a good time and it's a good opportunity. So,
Any questions or anything for the commission?
I'm good.
All right, thanks for your feedback. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'll be back.
So they did give Tammy her certificate, but I wanted to just recognize her when she comes in for her report that she got. And I invited her staff to come in. And then as far as the, she had some recommendations on the TGT on when I made my motion about doing a separate, it would be, she'll explain it better than I can as far as what we should do as far as getting interest in there. So.
Good morning.
Did you put the close sign on the door over there?
Yeah.
Well, we can see.
Yeah.
Okay.
What a modern crew.
Welcome
We love
back.
you too, Teresa.
I hope you enjoyed your conference.
Yeah, there was a
So-
lot of good information. I was forwarding there was a really good payroll and compensation one, and I think I might have even sent a couple things to you, but I sent like screenshots.
Yes. Yeah.
Just some good information.
So I wanted to recognize you for your Government Finance Officers Association Outstanding Public Service Award. Jamie approached me in the spring and said she thought you met all of the I guess milestones of what that award stands for. Definitely having helped us go through some challenging times with our hospital. So I definitely was like, okay, yeah, she needs to be put in for that. So basically, I just want to read what we put in there because I think that'll cover everything. Ms. Robinson joined Geary County in 2022 as the first finance director, a newly established position. Tasked with building her role in department from the ground up, she immediately addressed lack of checks and balances within our $40 million budget. In just 3 years, Ms. Robinson has transformed the county's financial landscape. She has worked closely with department heads to develop detailed line item budgets, identifying inefficiencies and saving opportunities. Under her leadership, the Geary County Commission consolidated numerous levy funds into two, increasing flexibility in meeting our county's needs. She also introduced a simplified budget format that allows the public to clearly see how tax dollars are allocated. Her financial expertise has yielded remarkable results, and thanks to those improvements, Geary County has been able to conduct and implement a wage study, ensuring fair employee compensation and aiding to staff recruitment and retention, secure a $30 million bond to address the long overdue maintenance for our county hospital, preventing its closure, and with no additional impact to the taxpayers. We transitioned Sheriff's Department deputies to a significantly improved retirement plan, established and fund a comprehensive capital improvement plan, assisted the county treasurer in enhancing the county's investment portfolio, and developed updated financial policies to ensure oversight, accountability, and transparency. Furthermore, under Ms. Robinson's guidance, Geary County has successfully lowered its mill levy by 15 mills over the past 3 years, resulting in significant tax savings. Most notably, her management recently led to an improved S&P Global rating increase in our county's general obligation from an A to an A+. And then I added as a commissioner, I just said, as a county commissioner, navigating the budget process can be complex and overwhelming, but Ms. Robinson's guidance has made significant impact. She provided clear and detailed financial insight. I had the knowledge that it was needed to make informed decisions, and her ability to simplify complex budget matters allowed me to quickly grasp the county's financial structure and priorities. Through her mentorship, I gained confidence in evaluating budget proposals, understanding financial constraints, and making decisions that best serve our community. Her expertise not only streamlined the learning process, but also reinforced the importance of strategic financial planning. I truly believe our only hospital would not be as strong and thriving today if it wasn't for her expertise. Thank you.
So there were 53 awardees, and there were like 5,000 people at this conference. And, you know, it's not only within the continental United States, but one of the people they were from South Africa, Brazil. I mean, they were from all over. So I just want to say that I think it's wonderful that Geary County was recognized, and the state of Kansas, because we were the only state of Kansas recipient for this award. And I think it speaks to Kansas and where we're going and where we're headed and what we're trying to do to be accountable, transparent, good stewards for our taxpayers. And I also want to thank my team especially, because my successes are attributed to the hard work that they put in. And not only in my office, but the people that I work outside of our office, and, you know, buying into everything that we've done, making the changes, working with me. Betsy's had to put up with me a lot from the legal standpoint of the things that we have done. And I'm very thankful for this opportunity.
Thank you and congratulations. Now back to work.
Is it okay if we take a picture with the?
That's okay, because shake her hand. We need to get a big thing with the county logo on it to take pictures in front
I
of.
wanted to give her
Coach, we have to.
We need to get a picture, so I think, get your phone. And that way we can get a pictures in the back too. Don't trip over the cord, right?
All right.
And can I get a picture of all of you ladies?
Yeah.
Trish.
Absolutely. I'm just waiting to get my picture taken. You should be all nice and refreshed. Yeah, something like that.
Actually, Keith, you should be as commission chair up there and taking a picture of Tim as well.
Get up there. Come on, you. Get Trish, want to take that one?
He had to put his glasses on so he could find it.
We'll put Keith in the middle. In the middle.
Well, he didn't have anything to do with the award.
He's just lucky enough to be chairman now.
Right. I gotta go back here.
You can zoom out.
That's because I'm so tall.
Yeah.
Thanks, ladies.
We'll go back to it, yeah.
So then I also had the TGT, that you had, from when I sent you that email out that we had passed that.
So Betsy had sent me, she's working on your charter resolution on that. So just making sure that we're all on the same page with, what you've decided to do with this. I know you're gonna do the additional 1%, and we also want to have some interest going to that, so I do not want to open an additional checking account, and so I just wanted to make sure that that was also your intent, because we can allocate interest from it sitting in the fund that we have, because it's already an interest-bearing account. So we can take that daily balance and allocate interest, just like we're doing with the CIP fund and the tech funds and the forfeiture funds. So we don't need to put it in a separate checking account. It will be in a separate fund, so the funds are within our financials, but not a separate checking account.
So my question was, can you put the, so there'll be a total of 2% in that sports conduct?
Yep.
Can you use the 2%, or do you just gotta do the 1% according to the resolution?
For the allocated interest?
Yeah.
You can allocate it for the entire balance within
Okay.
your charter
My
resolution.
motion was for the whole 2% to get the interest. That's what I intended anyway. Is that what you?
Well, when he's clarified it, yeah, that probably, yeah, I think you had said that, but
Okay.
then,
I just
yes,
wanted
yeah,
to
that's,
clarify.
yeah.
That was my intent anyway, when I said set, you
Yeah,
know,
that
put
makes
it
sense.
to where they're all, it's all together getting interest.
And it's just going in the general fund, and it's not getting reallocated back to itself.
Right. So I guess my question then is, are you wanting to keep the old money, the 800,000 plus that we have right now, completely separate?
No, I think they should all be together and then we put, well, I mean,
Well,
my intent was we keep it, put them all, you know, put it all together and then, limit what we can use towards the special, like to regenerate what we have
So,
as 100,000 a year.
so as long as we generate more than 100,000 a year on that extra 1%, it wouldn't be an issue, but it would be possibly if it was less than 100,000 for some reason. And then you would have to determine, can those older funds or the other 1% be used?
My intent was, yes,
Do
that
that
we'd be able
difference.
to use that.
Okay.
so
That
the
was
way
the
it's
intent.
written, I'm gonna give it from the way I've read.
Okay,
Um,
because then that gives us
The
immediate
way I've read it,
access
it's all
to,
commingled.
so we can start right away
And not
with
wait for
using
the
it.
Okay.
So what's the downside if you don't raise with the 1%, don't raise the 100,000?
Well, then you would have to tap into the funds that already exist.
Which I think will balance itself out because it has been over 100,000.
I don't know,
The 1% has already,
So the way it's written in this, I have it that you may, at the commission's sole discretion, with input from the CBB and community partners, up to 100,000. So there, you don't have to spend 100,000, and it's up to the city commission to decide that after they've talked to the CBB and any other community members too. And it's all in the same fund.
so utilize what you're raising with the increased 1%. So if it's not 100,000, it's up to.
It's up to 100,000. The 100,000 is a limit, and you guys, if the commission
Yeah.
decides not to do something one year and just say,
there might be nothing that we,
we didn't do that, well, we're not gonna spend anything, it'll be,
So one other thing I would like to propose is that we put at least 500,000 of that money into a CD if the CD rates are higher than what we have is in our checking account at this point.
Out of the 800.
At least 500, you guys, if you want to go more, you could do 700, because if you're wanting to make sure there's 100 available right now, 700 would be fine to do that with. But that would lock in interest rates at least for a while, depending on, which ones can be the highest.
How long a term would you be looking at?
Well, so that is gonna depend. If we do 700, we might divide some so that one's a 6-month, one's a 12-month, so that every 6 months we have liquidity. But I would like to look what the rates are to determine which makes sense before we make that determination,
And you'd have to send that out for RFPs.
right? Which is why I wanted to bring that as a recommendation, because right now the CD rates have been higher than what our checking account is. And so we're locking in that interest rate and the ones that we've already put into CDs a little higher than what we have in the checking. And with our economy right now, we really don't know what we're gonna get. So
I
if we can
would
lock it in, it would actually help us.
lean towards the 500,000 just for the uncertainty.
Yeah, but 700,000, that you haven't done anything with that for
True.
a time,
I'm good
and
with
if she,
700,000.
yeah, if she uses it, does what, and just does it in increments.
And there's money going in there now,
Right.
Yep.
you know,
It's
I mean,
sat there
there's still.
for over 10 years.
Well, this, trying to get my head wrapped around this. So we probably would start this January 1, correct? Is that what we're talking
And the reason why is I don't want to wait a whole year to get 100,000 from the new 1%. I want to be able to use that money and replenish it with what's going to be coming in with that extra 1%. Because we put a 2-year review for you guys to look at. So we need to, figure out. I mean, if we're gonna do something, we're gonna have to start sending out RFPs to get stuff done, you know what I mean, if we're gonna do something by next summer.
But you want to use 100,000 potentially now when this goes
Yes.
into effect.
Yes.
So the new 1% would be January, but what you could do with what is existing is immediately upon signature.
no,
No,
you'd have to wait until the 60.
60 days.
Well, the January, well, yeah, once this goes into effect, yes,
Once it's published and then
yes.
ran 60
Okay,
days.
so 60 days you would
And
be
then
able to.
January 1 would be when they have to start collecting it.
Right.
Which would be anyway because of the quarter, right? Because if you have that 60 days, January 1st will be the first
Yes,
next quarter.
Right. But I mean, it's 16 days from the date of the first publication.
so if we
So-
did that this week.
That's September, October-ish, if you decided you wanted to use funding at that point, you could use the existing funding.
Or at least start talking about it. I mean, we don't have to spend it that day, but no, do you need a motion for us to do the 700,000?
I don't think so. I just needed to make sure that that would be the direction you'd want to go, because those are
Yeah.
reserved for specific purposes, and if you needed certain dollars available.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my thought is too that, so we had talked about possibly doing a feasibility study. You didn't want to do that until you knew whether we were going to do the 1% increase.
Yeah.
So if we want to do the feasibility study, then we probably need to make it 600,000, because it gives you 100,000 to do some projects now and leaves another cushion there to do a feasibility study.
That makes sense.
Originally, that's why I said 500,000, but it could be 6.
Okay.
That gives us some
Yeah,
flexibility.
no, I agree. Yeah, well, and we do need to, I think you guys need to, at the CVB, talk about what they want in a feasibility study and then put it on the agenda so we can talk about what we
We
want.
have a meeting this week.
And then the only other thing for my regular time is just to let you know that I'll be at that CPM program on Wednesday and Thursday this week, which I think you have already signed the sheet a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have until we do our budget work session. Thank you.
Hi, Desiree.
I'm gonna go ask Tammy a question on this 1%, because I still get the 1%, from the difference in the two reports. It's something I know that's on this, we need. Make sure that the 1% of Sherry's, is she going by Sherry's numbers with, when she gets that formula to break that out when she did this report?
You're talking about the 1%.
Yeah, because.
Yeah.
This is through April, and then this one's through April, the 800, and Sherry's got also these 2 quarters. So I just want to make sure, because somebody had asked, that's not 1% of whatever, and it's like, well, I don't have the formula that was given to us whenever, so I just want to make sure her calculation of the 1% is correct. And Tammy's, the treasurer's on
Like, they don't think that we're collecting that much? Is that what they think?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that that's what Michelle Steinmeier said.
Yeah.
You would think she would.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is right.
They come and yell at us.
What?
Watching.
So Betsy, how, nothing in here says anything about, starting collections of the additional on January 1. Should that be in there?
Well, I mean, just by how the calendar works and you can do a quarterly, it would be. If you guys want me to put it in there.
Just asking, I mean, because this almost looks like after the 2 publications and 61 days after, it could be on the books.
Well, so it will be on the books, but just from a housekeeping standpoint, you have to let the department of revenue quarterly. So the quickest we can get it started would be January 1, but the 100,000 would be after the 61st day of the second publication.
Yeah.
When is this? I got that written down in the folder down there, but I told Tammy, I just can't remember off the top of my head. That was a long time ago when we initiated that. But I wanted to make sure we understand that it's a sixth. It's 1% of the sixth. Of the 6%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not the 1% of the whole number. I guess I don't understand.
Because that report was started by you, wasn't it?
Right, yeah, that's-
Okay.
yeah.
I thought, because I remember when
Yes,
you used to send them out to.
Right, when we did that, when I was going backwards on this, then doing that, I couldn't remember.
So how is it different than just 1%?
It's 1%
Of the six, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, and that's for everything though. I guess I don't understand what other way could it be?
Right, yeah, right, well, the way that it looks on here, that it's not, they're taking 1% of this, the
I think
entire amount, but you have to take it
his
by six,
interpretation of that is
just
pretty
1%
different
of
than
the
what
six.
Yeah, that's
But
on the
finally,
end
guys,
there.
exactly.
So that's what I'm saying, like that is what they take 1% of that makes equals this.
That's
Yeah, right,
Correct.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or the-
That's the way I
Stuff we need is to have an
So is it right or not?
It's right.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that was kind of a hot flash, I was thinking, no, I didn't recall, 2014, but I know we sat down and talked a great deal when we were doing that, to make sure we were getting the right numbers.
Okay, we're good.
Good morning, Gary Burgess, Geary County Emergency Management, and Rural Fire Chief and Assistant Kurt Yonke. Year-to-date on fires is 67. Same period in '24 was 57, so we're 10 ahead. Month of June, we had 16, just normal fires, nothing out of the ordinary that I saw there. Good news is no fire-related calls in rural areas all of last week.
Nice.
So I think that's 2 years in a row we have not had calls over the 4th of July that was firework related or whatever. We sent 1 unit and 3 personnel, myself, to the city fire last Wednesday up there at the apartment complex. Helped with picking up hose. I helped with them with the Red Cross and some other deals. So,
What was the cause of
Yeah.
that fire?
what?
What was the cause of that?
Still under investigation. So, on July 4th, we had 3 trucks in a front run. At the beginning, they asked us to kind of motivation deal with us along with the city, and law enforcement did that. We had 3 trucks in the parade, and then we put 1 truck on East 6th Street for the fireworks display, just as a backup in case anything happened. No problems during all that. During the 4th of July, we had 1 light tower. We took over Wamego to help out with their 4th of July celebration. We kept 1 light tower here in town. They went down to Freedom Fest for the motorcycle deal after the fireworks deal. Impressive watching those guys do their flips in the dark in the air and then landing on a tarp. And then also the message board went out to the state park. We also monitored the weather during 4th of July activities. In fact, Saturday night, we were in the park and all of a sudden the storm started coming up. We were watching one over by Salina and it dissipated. Pretty soon one popped up around Wakefield. So we met with the staff, myself, the police assistant chief and the city fire chief, and shut everything down for safety because of lightning and stuff. All I did was say, here's what we're seeing on radar. And everybody agreed. And at that time, we got everything shut down and started pouring and lightning in the area. So coming out, you'll probably receive an email probably this week or next week. The local hazard mitigation plan that we've been working on for the past few months, adding information, is out. It's going to be out for public review. There'll be 2 weeks. You guys can look at it, comment on anything you see that you want changed. There's some action plans if there's money available. If we have a disaster statewide where there's money we can apply for, and we've got several projects, rough projects listed on that, so you can look at that. If you have questions, holler at me. But I've reviewed that last week when it came down to the emergency managers, and then it'll go out to everybody for public review. So take a chance to look at it. A lot of good reading, and that's about I think about 200 and some pages. Yes. It'll put you to sleep, so make sure you're wide awake. And the only other thing is I've started looking at everybody's COOP plans. A lot of them are in good shape. A lot of them have everything in there pretty well that if they need to be activated, they can be used. So I've made a few comments on some of them, sent them back and said, hey, let's add some more here or there. And the nice thing is most of this drop down, it's easy stuff for the department heads to fix, and they're calling me with questions and stuff.
So with that said, how did you work out the relocation in case there was a need to relocate? And so
We've got the agreement with the local 4-H center. I went down last week to try to get hold of the Rock Springs director to talk to him and see if that's a vulnerable spot or ideal spot. And he was busy at the time, so I'm going to set up a meeting and go down and see. So it'll give us a 3rd location or a second backup location. We're still working on that.
When we talked about the county using the senior center, did we decide who was gonna be housed in there? Is it gonna be the county offices, like this building would be there? I mean, it would seem like.
The way the agreement says, it's any county function or something along that line. So it depends who needs it. If if this building's still functionable
Stay here.
and can be used, it probably, we say everybody stay here. It's just gonna be at the moment as to who needs it and priority wise.
So at the, I guess, different circumstances obviously would warrant different things, but generally as a whole, if we had, building was not
Unusable.
functionable and so was several around the county, then it would seem to me like that these offices that function and work together needs to be in the same area, that we can't.
These
put one
would have the
here and one
priority and they
over.
would all be out
Yeah.
of one spot.
Because, well, finance had talked about going out sewer 4, and to me, after I thought about that it would seem like that those need to all be housed in the general vicinity together. Because
They should all be housed
anyway,
together.
but I know hopefully it'll never happen. But the more I thought about that, it just seems like, I guess, like you said, different things warrant different, but I think we still need to be prepared. If this option happens, then these, all the county administration type things need to be together.
And that'll be determination for you three as
Yeah.
commissioners
Yeah.
need to make at that point then as to who goes out
Sure.
there. I think that's your determination, not mine.
Yeah, well, I didn't know in the coup plan, when you were saying that they were saying that they're gonna be here and they're gonna be located here, that there seems to be someplace in that book that says that if such should happen, that this is what's gonna transpire. But as a whole, I guess that we.
Right,
we talked
right.
about
Everybody
that.
should be
Sure,
together. You don't want to have
Sure,
tags go in one building and
Right.
clerks at another one.
right,
You want
yeah,
to try to keep.
exactly. Is
Right.
that, yes.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Gary, I do have one more question. It's not a question for you, but does the fireworks stand, are they limited to the caliber of what a person can buy? I mean, I have had several people call me over the weekend about these artillery shells hitting their house, and they're concrete.
The state regulates the size of the firework. It's a class A, B, or C, something like that is what they can
I
sell.
said, well, that's not necessarily something we necessarily do. I think it's more like the city or whoever manages the fire. But that, to me, it was a good question because they were concerned about, the hitting their house and.
I went out on the first and inspected the 4 stands that are in the county. And kind of amazing what they were selling, but nothing that we can regulate.
Oh, really?
That all goes through the state. Yep.
Yeah. I could see them out in the county, but I wouldn't want one. I mean, because some of them were pretty loud just anyway, but I wouldn't want the artillery shells
That's
like
nothing that we
hit
would
one. They
regulate.
had some pictures of them, and this was on Spring Valley Road that some of those came from, and I said, I heard it. Yeah.
And most of the fireworks suppliers, like in Missouri or whatever, they know what they can sell to people. And I don't even think Missouri has any large, most of the states are pretty well the
But a
same.
city or county
Yeah.
can't
No.
regulate
Yeah.
what they want to sell. But it'd be hard to manage, I would think.
And the state, you have to get a registration number through the state to sell the fireworks. What they require is in-state distributors. So I mean, when I go out and look, they have a piece of paper that shows who they bought it from, where they're located, and whether or not they're approved by the fire marshal or not. And that's what I have to go off of. Then I do a walkthrough and make sure there's no pop bottle rockets and things like that. It's usually a 10-minute inspection. And most of the 4 that we still have, 3 of the 4 have been around at least 10 years that I know of.
Well,
So
I
they
know
know
at one
what
time,
they
Gary,
can and can't.
you banned the candelabra type things that you
The
buy.
lanterns, statewide now, those
Statewide,
things,
yeah.
those things are
But you'd
statewide.
think those things that you light with a torch would be just as hazardous, but
Because
You
they
know.
go 4 to 5 miles and land in somebody's wheat field and that. And so we said no to that, and I think the next year the state
so they're
outlawed
banned
those
altogether.
too.
Huh?
Okay,
Yep, thank
anything
you.
else? Okay, thank you.
Some of those things are about rock your house.
4823.
424. That is the June one.
Yeah.
Last year.
Okay. Good mitigation. Make sure it is.
Okay.
You ready, Jeremy?
Yeah. Always full of good news.
Don't mind
That
if I
sounds
say-
ominous.
Yeah, copy this. Okay. So good morning, Commission. Jeremy Myers, Public Works Administrator. Leland Ross with me today as well. First thing we have is statewide special bridge inspection. Got an email from KDOT for special bridge inspection on a bridge on Skiddy and Clarks Creek. It's fracture critical. They do an underwater inspection, pin and hanger inspection, and non-redundant steel tension member inspection, as well as element level data collection. County's cost portion share of that is $5,150, and KDOT requests you submit payment at your earliest convenience for this one. So I would recommend approval from commission to submit payment in the amount of $5,150, and that would be the special bridge fund.
So moved.
Yep, I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Next, I have Sheriff's Building Water Detection Center sensors recommendation. I've received a updated quote from Monet on these, and with that, there would be 20 of the water sensor pucks, 5 of the water detector plus sensor. These are 3-inch or 3-foot leads that can be daisy chained together that you can wrap around things in different areas if you need to, piping, whatever. There's also an Ethernet gateway that goes with that. And then you do have a reoccurring subscription at $120 for that. And then there's a site survey tool that you basically use to go throughout the facility to get your best reception back to that Ethernet gateway that communicates with all the pucks. But my updated quote on that to implement into that facility would be $4,427.52. And again, that does have that $120 per year reoccurring fee. So with that, I think this is about the best system that we're going to come up. I did look at some others, and if you remember when Corey was still here, he spent quite a bit of time on it, and he was really sold on the Monet product as well. So with that, I'd recommend commission approval to purchase this Monet water sensor system, again, at a cost of $4,427.52, and that would be facilities fund.
I so move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Bye.
Aye.
They do build these to order, so I'll get this order put in. They say it doesn't take a long time, but they don't just have them sitting on the shelf because they have a battery in them. The water sensor pucks have a 7 to 10 year life, so they try to build them and get a new battery in them once people order them.
Where does the notification go? If they-
So it will go to, we can have it go to anybody's cell phone that we want. So, you know, I would imagine Sheriff would have it on his, I'd have it on mine, and any of his key staff up there as well in our building maintenance department too. So And it'll give you a real-time alert. When it alerts, it'll let you know, and that way things can start getting headed off just as quickly as possible. Next is a Sheriff's Office janitorial RFP. RFPs were sent out to secure janitorial service for the Sheriff's Department on July 1st and are due back by August 1st, 2025, 4:30 PM, with an opening date of August 4th at 11 AM. If you'll remember, we don't have a current contract with janitorial in that facility because of the flooding with the sewer and then the reconstruction and all that. So we held off when we redid janitorial contracts for all the other buildings. So we will work with council to get a contract drafted up for that and bring it back to commission before any contracts are signed or approved. And then also with that contract, that the first part of that will just be through the end of 2025. And then it will hit back on the schedule with the rest of the contracts. So we didn't want to have anything that was due at a different date. GIS zoning camera and electronic door entry update. After speaking with Tammy in finance, she suggested that be paid for out of facilities fund. And that cheapest bid on that one was Ready Systems at a cost of $3,359.21. I can tell you the other ones if you want to hear them again from Performance Audio and Next Tech, but they were quite a bit higher than the Ready Systems one. So ask if commission would like to move forward with that. We can get that rolling. Facility fund.
What do you guys think?
We've talked about it.
Yeah.
We've talked about it for a
I didn't know
while.
if anybody else,
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Is it just a camera going into on the outside, or what is it exactly?
Yeah, there'll be a camera located at the door for the entry as well as electronic locks. So basically Troy or Lance would be able to see who is at the door. They can call on an intercom to them, and then they can push a button to allow
So it's
them
the same
access.
basically thing but nothing's changed except they have a camera?
Now they have to get up and go unlock the door. They don't know who's there. So you walk up to the door, you call Troy's
Well,
office.
are we gonna be able to view the camera? Like us? No, I want to where, cause I've had people say that they come to the door numerous times and nobody's
And
there.
nobody's home.
And that's what I wanna see.
Okay. We'll look a little further into it then. Next is K-Camp dump truck claim. The dump truck involved in the accident on 4/8/2025 was deemed a total loss, and K-Camp has mailed a check to the county in the amount of $95,514.21, and that'll be deposited into the CIP fund. We would like to ask that money be ear tagged for Public Works to replace that truck.
So moved on that.
Yep.
I'll second.
Been moving second. All in favor, say aye. Motion carried.
Courthouse Tuck Point project phase 1 has been completed, and IMR continues to work on phase 2. We're finalizing the paperwork to receive that $100,000 grant from State Historic Preservation Office, as well as we're still working with the tax credits, and all that will be done at the end of phase 2. That way phase 1 and phase 2 tax credits can be combined. And it is looking really good. So
Yeah.
I think it's just making a world of difference on that. Courthouse boiler call-in 6/20/2025. I received an after-hours call on 6/20/2025 for an active water leak in the boiler room at the courthouse. I was out of town, so I gave Frank a call with building maintenance. He responded, contacted TCA. They found a faulty solenoid that was allowing a water reservoir in there to overfill. There was no real damage done to anything. It's concrete floor on there with drains and what have you. So TCA did get that replaced and got everything back in working order. I am requesting commission's approval for 2 hours of overtime for that because that was that Juneteenth holiday pay period, and as policy reads, commission has to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
Then moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried.
Next would be a noxious weed trailer purchase. Noxious weed supervisor Jason came to me about getting a larger trailer to transport the Kubota UTV for spraying and those things. Currently, he uses a little single axle trailer that we had for signs and barricades, but with the weight of the Kubota, they have to have 2 people stand on the front because it's a tilt top to get it to come back down and latch, which is very unsafe. Shouldn't be doing that. So he went out and got some quotes for a new trailer. It's 5,500 pound cargo, tandem axle utility style trailer. Quotes received from Erickson Agri Motive LLC was $3,669.99. That trailer had a 6 to 8 week lead time. Then he had Austin Trailers at $3,572, and they were at a 6 to 8 week lead time. And Tractor Supply was at $3,699.99. And that trailer was sitting in the lot. And he felt, honestly, by looking at the trailers, that the Tractor Supply one was a little bit better built, had some features that he liked a little bit better than the other ones. Between the highest and lowest quote, we have $430.99. So with those lead times and what have you, I recommend that commission would approve to purchase the trailer from Tractor Supply in the amount of $3,699.99. And that would be paid out of the Noxious Weed Capital Outlay Fund.
I so move.
Second.
Then moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Chip seal update. As of today, crews have chip sealed 4.7 miles of Humboldt. Rain's been hindering us, but progress is being made. So it's a lot of tough calls to be made there. We have to order the oil the day before by 3 o'clock, and then you have rain in the forecast and stuff. We really try to be mindful because when we order it and it gets here, we own it. So, and we've only got one area to go. We've got a 10,000 gallon overhead tank, but one load's 10,000. So you only get one shot to mess up. So we try to be pretty cautious on that and make sure we can get it on the road when it gets here. Update on the joint city-county cleanup effort. We did meet with the city again on July 2nd to discuss more details regarding that. I brought a point up that on that voucher, the city had sent over some examples that they created, and I know we were talking about a voucher system as well. With that being a one-time use voucher, the city kind of had it set up as, you could go to the transfer station as many times as you wanted to. But my fear is that we're going to cause a traffic jam down there and things are going to get backed up. We do see it pretty much daily as it is. And if we don't limit how many people or how many times people can go down there, I think it's going to cause a lot of headaches. So city agreed with it. So I think if my commission is on board with it, it would be just a one-time use voucher for the transfer station itself, and any additional items they will have to go to a roll-off location.
That sounds good. Yeah, I don't want to make any more. It just might be, if it's bigger stuff, it might be harder or easier just to take it to.
Right.
Yeah. When are we gonna start, advertising that?
So I'm speaking with you. City's going back to their commission at their next meeting to get everything finalized on their side of things. And I would say shortly after that, advertisement's gonna start. So
Did you mention where you were gonna put ours?
that's next.
Oh, okay. Cause I had that note written down. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
wait.
So a couple locations I came up with, and it's just pretty tough to find some good spots in my opinion, but Geary County Rural Fire Station number 8 off of Pleasant View Road. That would be out across from State Park To me, that would cover the housing out in that area. So that one was kind of a no-brainer for me there, but the other options that I had was, fire station number 4 off Bar Road in K-18 there, or we could put one at East Lions Creek Road at that fire station number 2 right off 77. Those are kind of some, I mean, as far as the county owning a lot of land out there to set them on, I just don't know that we have a lot, or if you had any opinions on where you would like to see one set yourself.
I don't, I was gonna leave that totally up to you, you'd know better on what, the traffic and stuff and.
Well, I like going at Fire Station 8.
I had also thought about the 4-H Center parking lot on Spring Valley, but how much does that tailor to your county residents
Yeah.
versus your city residents?
Yeah, I wanted to where at least on each side of the county, they have access to it. I mean, they can always bring it in, but
Mhm.
for them to have access to it.
I don't know, either one. I think there's more room out there at Station 2, isn't there?
Yeah.
For getting in and out,
Yeah.
running around.
Yeah. My only thing that kind of worries me about the one there on Bar Road is, all your traffic at K-18 and all of that, whether somebody would see it and say, oh, we just don't. have to
Well,
charge.
everybody uses that as a parking lot anyway.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
We ought to be charging for parking.
Yep. So I guess if commission's good with it, we'll put one at 8 and one at 2. Just call that good, see how it works out.
Yep. Don't know unless you try.
Also discussed was the tires and whether the county wants to partner with the city on the tires or just let the city have at it this time.
I think just let the city have at it this time.
Yeah.
Cause we're looking for grants for that.
Yeah.
Cause I think it's gonna be more expensive than they think it is.
I think so too. I highly suggested to them that they put a cap on what they let each person bring.
Yeah,
I will leave that up to them.
yeah, I
If the
mentioned
county
it
wants to
to
stay out of
the
that
city
part.
manager. I was like, I think this is gonna be more than, I think we should just do, but he said he wanted to do the tires, so.
Yeah, his guys were pretty adamant that he was
He
wanting
was
to
very,
leave
he's
it in
very
there.
adamant, and, that's fine.
And I realize they are a huge problem.
They are.
In the city and in the county, but I think it needs to be something separate from this. If we want to create a tire disposal day, partner with tire cutters or
Yeah.
something like that and give it to the residents at a discounted rate, or say,
Yeah,
hey,
we
you
have
can
enough
bring
trash
10,
right
any
now.
additional, we'll do something else.
To
But
just do trash and then we can,
Right.
'cause this is something new. I think it's great that we're doing it. I think it's gonna be, we're gonna learn what not to do this first time, but, we'll figure it out.
Okay, well, I think we're getting pretty close to getting everything worked, and we're gonna work up a voucher for the county side that we'll bring back to my next meeting with you to view and make sure you're okay with it as well. Late Thursday, I did receive a requested petition for a rural water line. Caitlin will pass out an example. It didn't get on the agenda because it did come in pretty late, but being as I'm here, I'd like to bring it so I don't hold up them on any processes, especially with me coming every 2 weeks. It pushes their projects out. So you got rural water district number 1, Morris County. This is for installation of a residential water line on Clarks Creek Road, just off 57, Eric Bartow. I did drive out there this morning and look at this. They have their blue flags in place, and where they want to do their water meter set is far enough off of the roadway right away that it won't pose any issues. So with that, I would recommend commission approve it once they have viewed it.
I so move.
Second.
Then move second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah. Usually it's on the back.
Well, she had that on the dates.
Oh.
Thank you.
Lastly, we just have a quarterly presentation, a little slideshow that was put together with some projects that Public Works has completed here this past quarter. The commission had asked that they receive some of this stuff, so we'll do our best to keep it coming.
Yes, thank you.
This one? Maybe.
You got it?
Maybe.
Don't count on me for that one.
And you have your sound. And you have sound. Oh, we're not that fancy yet.
You can put music to it.
We'll talk. Okay. So back on April 25th, HHW Noxious Weed staff participated in the Early Childhood Center's Community Helper Day. It's around 250 to 275 3 to 5 year olds, and they taught about recycling and the importance of it. So we made little bins here, can't say else, that they had to then place the correct object, cardboard or water bottle, in the right recycling bins. We gave out stickers and hope we can do this yearly. I think the staff had a fun time doing it. And here's just kind of some more pictures.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Old Milford Road daylighting project, crews removed multiple dead trees and overhanging limbs that were encroaching on the road, and then just cleared up any potential hazardous situations. Just a couple of before pictures.
Those are all mean hedge trees too. That's a very unpleasant job.
Oh,
Yeah.
They stuck with it and got it done. It looks a lot better.
Yeah, that does look better.
That bigger one there is one of the final ones, so
Yeah.
see a difference there. Whiskey Lake Road had another hazardous tree in the way that was removed. Don't have an after there because then there's nothing to look at, but you can just kind of see where the tree was and why it had to be removed.
This one was a unique one. At one point, I think previous county staff had actually nailed a delineator to it. You know, it was far enough in the roadway and we kind of drug around it and everything. And I just finally decided, hey, we got to get rid of that. It's one day it's going to bite us in the rear end.
Yeah.
In Old 40, there was a culvert install for a new driveway entrance, so that's the final product there. And then just some during pictures. Crack seal operations, the crew did 19.2 miles of crack seal operations on Humboldt and Asher Road. Like all of our other projects, weather played a factor, so it took around 3 to 4 weeks to complete, along with other projects during that time frame too that we had to get completed. And then just a couple more.
It's a lot of crack chasing.
Mm-hmm.
But it does drastically help the roadway when we can seal those cracks and keep the moisture out of them.
Couple more daylighting projects, again on Old Milford Road and Eagle Lane, just clearing up some areas that were maybe a little overgrown. Transfer station cleanup, we cleaned up the metal pile in the surrounding areas, placed new gravel down there, We have that Connex box we're using for storage now, so added a little ramp access, to that location. And we had some low water crossing projects we had to get done. So the first one was on Caroline.
So we should pay for it. Okay. So we pay for.
And the next was Moyer Ranch.
Yes.
These two low water crossing projects were part of the June 24 flooding event things that we will be getting some reimbursements on the asphalt and the labor and such on that. So.
And then we brought this to you guys, but that bridge that had to be narrowed down, just some pictures of it being done. And that's all we got.
Have you had any complaints about that, narrowing that down?
I have not, no. Just
Why?
somebody kind of worried a little bit maybe, but no, I haven't had any real complaints. George Poland, I believe it was, stopped in one day and asked, kind of what was the future plans. So I explained to him that, but he didn't have any real concern over it. I think he was just going through town and thought he'd inquire a little bit about it. So,
Well, I really appreciate this.
Yes.
yeah, and we'll keep them coming.
Yes.
Like I said, we'll
It's not everything, but
No.
bigger ones that are worth
Don't
showing
know
before and
anything that
after.
you guys
Yeah.
do, so no, I'm
Yeah.
so
Right.
happy you did that.
Yeah.
And then will you get some of that to Raquel, so she's gonna put together
Can you?
something for us?
Yes, we have that on our to-do list.
Yeah.
There are
Yep.
some of those
Yep.
features she was asking about, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
that was all.
Thank you.
Great.
Does the commission have anything for me? All right, thank you very much.
Oh, did you contact about that wetting down Lower Road?
I sent him an email, I haven't heard back yet, but I will follow up with that today.
Okay.
I know late last week, everybody was kind of off of their
Yeah.
4th of July celebration mind frame, so.
Yeah. Nope, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Good morning.
I'll go down the hall.
Hey, Brad. Hey, Keith.
Oh, are you?
Am I late?
No,
No.
you're 15 minutes early.
Oh, that's the deal. Okay. All right. Thought I was gonna time warp.
Busy weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll rewrite that. And also I came up with, I'll send you guys that out today, for the wording for this, like household or household bulk items is what I came up with. So kind of, it states what those items.
Stuff that's coming for this, the end of the conversation.
Trash.
Yeah,
So stuff that we won't pick up. Because we don't have.
Betsy's gonna give us an update on it, it's not going through.
Okay. Britain,
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, there's a statute that says that if the city, that once they annex something, they don't provide the services that they're supposed to, because the county's supposed to like check on that once they annex something. Well, this was the annex where the statute is, where Dunbar's live, where the gift shop is across, the railroad tracks.
Oh, yeah.
Fields Old House. They annexed that back in the 60s. They've never received any services as far as water receiving. So that's why he filed a petition of us to de-annex them. But I think they didn't have the city and the Denver have an agreement, but because they did the public hearing, we had to talk about it.
I'm pretty sure he was daisy
But I didn't realize until somebody showed us that statute that we had anything once the city annexes something in, if they don't provide what they said they were gonna provide, then it can be de-annexed. But it's up on the county to do it.
I kind of remember that came up years ago, when they were trying to annex all the stuff across Spring, Spring Valley Road out there.
Yeah.
And I do that boundary line.
But I think that they will talk to the city and come up with something.
And that's good. Were we supposed to be second November, or did you? And I think it's a one.
Her staff asked if, because anybody can put her in, so they asked her to do it. I said, But I mean, anybody- No, it wasn't. No, Jamie just asked me to write it. She was gonna do it, but she has me just.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think we probably should do more.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know about it until Jamie brought it to my attention, because she belongs to the, they belong to that finance association. Well, I thought they were gonna do it. They said, when they sent me the email, said that she could give her a certificate, and they didn't give it to her then, because that's why I put it on the agenda.
Yeah.
But they're supposed to send her one, so.
And sometimes, with recognition around here, it's far and few, and when somebody does.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Should
And just,
be.
Lance got something, remember Troy was supposed to, and I've asked him twice now to present it to him, and I think it's important that we, especially when they make a, do an award, or if they get an accomplishment that people want
In the front of the glass.
to get.
They didn't have anything about putting that in the store.
I haven't had a chance to look at the plans this morning.
Hello,
Hello.
are you learning a lot?
We will,
Yeah.
I can do that when I get back, but I don't ever remember seeing it. That's what I was told.
Ray, thanks for-
Sign in for the minutes, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Ray, thanks for fixing that leak, up there at the ball field, that when you walk, you couldn't really see it when everybody was going, is that water coming from? Then you'd walk, from the swing set through that little thing and then just start walking through a marsh. So we backtracked.
This is the Parks Director.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I called him to let him know that.
Yeah,
So you're welcome to get her fixed. That's counts, right?
well, I thought, you wouldn't want that much. I mean, it was getting to be a little salt, quite a bit of water through that.
You know, open a pool up there.
It was pretty messy.
Was it?
Yes, it was. Well, and it started smelling too, because it was,
Well, I'm sure mosquitoes.
yeah.
Where's Betsy at?
She went down the hall now and then home.
You guys fixed it. I just let you guys know that.
I'm surprised that nobody involved with them, because by the concession stands to be insane. Yeah.
Okay, next we have public hearing petition for de-annexation. Betsy, you want to lead us on?
Sure. We have a petition filed by the Dunbars for de-annexation. And after speaking to the Dunbars and counsel for the city, Mr. Stites, last week, we're gonna go ahead and continue it until August 18th. And we'll take it back up there if they aren't able to reach resolution.
Betsy, I tried to explain a little bit to Commissioner Tremont about that statute on what exactly the county's role is in the de-annexation request.
Okay. Generally, when property is annexed, there's an annexation plan that's filed. 3 years after it's annexed, there should be a public hearing that the commission holds, the county commission, about whether or not that annexation plan has been followed. And then 18 months after that, there's a remedy if the annexation plan is not being filed for a landowner to petition for use.
I read a little bit about that in the commission handbook. There is a section in there about that, but I'll go back and read over it, because I know we hadn't had any of that happen
For a long time.
for a long time, so thank you, I appreciate you.
Any comments from the city?
You guys just
You came down here to see us, so.
I did talk to Mr. Stites, and there were some annexations that we're gonna start talking about that were in 21. And we talked about maybe in the fall, getting a hearing scheduled to go through and have a hearing on all those. It's a statutory requirement.
Well, and I think, and I agree with it. I mean, Spring Valley Road was annexed in 18 years ago and there's still no carbon gutterings there. And, you know, I just feel like when you are making those people pay city taxes, they should get all the benefits that everybody else gets in the community. No reflection on you guys. You guys are all doing a great job. Keep up the good work. I know you guys, the hands are tied with finance stuff prior, but now, you know, you're getting a lot of stuff done and I know you're getting a lot of flack for it, but so keep up the good work.
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
because I guess I should have started out, I apologize, I should have opened it as a public hearing.
so we're gonna open it as a public hearing and we're going to recess until August
Okay,
18th.
so we're recessing, not closing the public hearing.
Recessing.
We're recessing.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next, we also, and I'll open this up as a public hearing for the TGT, Transient Guest Tax Charter Resolution that you've drawn up.
Yes, sir.
So, any comments on that?
Well, a charter resolution allows a county to charter out or opt out of a non-uniform statute. Geary County's been opting out. There's a little bit of history on the transient guest tax and in the body of this resolution, but we first opted out in 1978. And so there was one in 78, 87, 89. And then 2014 is when we set up the special sports escrow fund. There was, I think, a clarification is maybe what we'll call it in 21.
I think a correction.
And then the new part is gonna be the 1%, which is gonna be in the same fund as the special sports fund escrow is how it's drafted. That you may, at your discretion, expend funds of not more than 100,000 per year to improve, renovate, expand, maintain, or otherwise improve existing sports and recreation facilities and programs within Geary County. You're gonna utilize input from the CBB board and community. And that it's gonna be in an interest-bearing account, and the said interest will be allocated monthly based on the daily balance of the fund. So, also in there is that this additional 1% shall be levied for a period of 2 years from the effective date of this resolution, subject to renewal by action of the Board of County Commissioners upon review of its effectiveness. So this is a 2-year window. In the 2021, the extra 1% for the sports complex that's on a 10-year, and that rolls from 21. So we're about 4 years in on that. That's also subject to renewals by the board. So
Some people
those are some kind of
had said
deadlines
that
to keep track of.
goes into the CVB general fund, and something that I read said it goes into the Geary County general fund, which, I don't have that in front of me now, but which, it's supposed to go back to the Geary County general fund. Do you remember that, Teresa?
What,
Where those, if we don't meet the 2 years and we don't no longer need those funds, or we don't renew it, that whatever is existing out there will go. One thing said it goes back to the CVB general fund, and the other said back to the county general fund, and I think it was meant to go back to the county general fund, so.
I think it has to go to the
Well, that-
CDB fund
At CVB fund. Oh,
because
okay.
of what you can use the
And I'm
transient
here
guest
nor
tax
there with
for.
it, it just said they did two different things, and so I just was
I
about.
would think it'd have to go to the CBB fund because it is transient guest tax and that can only be used for specific
Right.
things.
It's not a sales tax.
Yeah.
And it's not a.
So I would think it has to
Here
go
on this
back.
last one, Betsy, it says,
Right, so you're on the whereas.
Well, I'm on the last, the charter resolution for 3/8/2021, on the page 3 in the middle
Right.
there, it says, the 1% shall cease to be collected, any funds remaining in that special escrow shall be placed in the county general fund. So that probably needs to be corrected at this point.
And that came, I think, straight from that 21 ordinance, so I mean,
But the other one has said, the statute, I think, says that, like you said, but this one said that says the
Yeah, I
county
did
general
understand.
fund.
let's pull the other one. So that came straight from the minutes of the March 8th, 2021, that it goes back to the general fund. So do we want to change that?
Well, that, I just was, it says, yeah, which way should it?
Well, I think we did it if we,
I mean, so that's a recitation, so if we want to change it and say after that ceases to be collected, we're gonna,
but don't you agree it should go into the CBB fund since that it's specific on what you can use that for?
Right.
right, I mean, that's just what the 21 resolution says.
I think she's just using it for the 21 because she
I was
probably should have
aware.
caught that in
But-
21 and we didn't.
So reading this new resolution, anything prior to today is null and void.
Yeah, but we need to probably
Change that.
put it in there that, upon, okay.
Yeah, let's just add that in there
Yeah,
and
that's a
then,
good catch.
well, I'll make a motion that we, accept the charter resolution with her adding that last part in about any remaining funds, if this doesn't go through, will go to the CBB general fund.
And there's one other, you two were out of the room. I asked Betsy whether there should be verbiage in here about this will commence, on January 1st of 2026. Collections would start then.
We can put collections, we'll start at 9.
Yeah, it has to start January 1, I think, yeah.
So
Okay.
I think if you want to attach that to your motion.
Okay, then I'll add that too as well, that we'll start collecting on January 1, 2026.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt Charter Resolution 77-2025 with those additions that we just talked about. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Hi, guys. Have a good day, guys.
So once you get that all squared away, then we'll sign it. Okay. This time, Debbie Johns has a appreciation and donation. Yeah, please come forward, introduce yourself.
I'm Debbie Johns. I'm the director of the Geary County Food Pantry, and this is,
Julia Loper, and I'm the president of the board of the food pantry.
and we're just here on behalf of the board and staff and our neighbors that come to the food pantry, just to thank you guys for your support for the new food pantry and the purchase of the lot. And it's just, you guys were the first ones that recognized our need and really helped us propel that building forth. And it is really, really just, we're just overwhelmed with gratitude. The first day when we opened up, I think my dream was that there wouldn't be a line, but that everybody would be able to come inside, but it was clear out to this street. But that's okay. Since in the month of June, we did 2,209 people, which 37% of that was children. And so we feel like we're trying to make a little dent in that food insecurity rate in Geary County amongst children. And we just really wanted to thank you guys so much for your support and let you know that we hear a lot of the neighbors that come to the food pantry say how grateful they are and how much they like it. And we just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that the donation really helped us for the support. So, yeah.
Would you like to introduce your rest of your group?
I would. So the rest of my group is Margaret Kilpatrick and Brad Carlton and Ellen Westerhouse.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, we are tickled. You guys have worked your booties off, and we're glad we were able to help with that. I know I've seen each and every one of you working your tails off down there, and thank you so much for what you do for our community.
Yeah, well, you guys please come and visit if you haven't been down. We'd love to have you and come see how it all works, so.
And we're going to have a grand opening on the 26th of July at 10 o'clock. So please try and come to that and get the tour and all that. We would really appreciate that.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Julia, the 26th of July?
Yes.
At
It's
10.
a Saturday,
Okay.
Saturday, 10 o'clock.
You sure can. We'll send you a cookie, Teresa. Oh, okay. Thanks, bye.
Should help they see the kickoff.
Now you're hot.
Finally got warm, huh?
I'm comfortable. She has got a couple, but she's like. Is that what you did? Kim? Did you send it out? When is the primary? August 8th?
The what?
Primary?
6th.
On Wednesday?
No,
No.
Tuesday.
The 6th and 5th. August 5th is Tuesday.
Okay. And then we do the canvas on the 18th.
Oh, okay. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, Charles.
Hey,
Got some mail here that I thought I'd deliver to you.
hey, thank you.
Looks good.
You here for public comment, Desiree? Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Okay.
I couldn't believe it.
I wasn't going to, but
The longer you sat there, you decided to, didn't you,
your brain was
Desiree?
just turning. My bad. What would you guys do without me?
Oh, you know, it'd be kind of boring.
Charles, did you have something for us?
I was here just for the budget meeting, in case you guys had questions about that.
Oh, okay, all right.
No, it wasn't a mandatory thing, but I just wanted to be here in case there was something that came up and you wanted clarification.
Desiree, you wanna come up, see if you get some questions?
Okay, I'm Desiree Petra, as you know, on Old Highway 40. I was just curious if anybody had heard anything about the gas pipeline. Any more information? I have not heard anything from anyone, so that's good.
It is a transmission line that they reached out to all the property owners out there and let them know in April. You even said you got a letter in April.
Just a letter, but we tried to contact, and we were not allowed to contact.
And basically it's an integral part of what is gonna be, feeding this community as well as Chapman and Granby Plaza. That's what we were told. It has nothing to do with,
But has anybody looked into how that jeopardizes the feed to us
as far as speed of what?
of natural gas? This
Oh.
natural gas pipeline.
No, it shouldn't.
It's to, it's to give us gas in the community to make sure.
We
that-
already have it.
I understand that, but the line across, I guess, across the street, just west of you guys, I guess. I don't know if it was west or right. They were talking to me on the phone, so I wasn't sure what they were saying as far as the location, but where it is now, they have to have it moved to be in compliance by 2028.
What is the compliance issue? That's what I've been trying to find out, and there are no answers.
I think it's outdated. I'm not sure, but,
So outdated in what respect?
well, I mean, they can't service the amount of people they need to service. That's why it's a transmission line. So like, well, it services, yeah, it's gonna service Chapman, Junction City, and Grandview Class is what I.
But the natural gas comes from the west to the east, so how is that?
And they looked at rerouting it, but they run into problems, well, like our old landfill down there, they looked at different options is what they told me. And they said at this point, they're just surveying and then they're gonna, you know, reevaluate or evaluate what they come up with, so.
And they said they're gonna be, communicating once they get that all done, as far as what they need to do, but it is the best viable option as far as where it's going, to give this community as well as Chapman and Grandview Plaza gas
Well, and
to
Junction
continue.
City.
Well, it is so necessary. Why is it not running on the other side of the road where the industrial development is wanted?
This has nothing to do with economic development at all. I
didn't
specifically
say
asked that. Oh, you insinuated it when you were.
We question it.
Sure,
Yes.
sure. And when they called, I mean, they apologized that they got people upset.
Yeah,
because-
but I just
Totally
think
under
that the
that.
planning, why is the county not allowed to know the planning? And why is
They
it
don't
not
know what their
important?
plan is until they do the survey. I mean, it makes sense that, what are they gonna come to us and say?
Wouldn't they explain the reasoning behind it?
As
You
soon as they
realize
have-
how long it took us to get any answers to that?
I
it-
don't know
it
who you
was
talked to.
just-
When Patrick and,
Lindsay.
Lindsay called, I mean, they were very apologetic that, you know, that everybody was
Who
upset
is
because
Patrick and Lindsay?
they were with the gas service.
Out of Topeka.
Out of Topeka?
Uh-huh.
Okay, see, I have not spoken to them.
I can't think of their titles, but,
I wrote notes, but I just
because
think
I
just wrote.
I reached out to, Senator Arbright.
I listened to that meeting I missed that first part of the meeting.
And so, anyway, he looked into it, he got the people that knew supposedly, and he asked whether I could, or whether he could give them my contact, so they called me. And I said, well, but who do you contact the other two? So we all hear the same story, and they did. But like Trish said, yeah, they were like, well, sorry, we've got to stir up a hornet's nest out there, but this is something we're mandated to do. So,
Well, is there any way you can get the compliance information? Because, you know, if that is bad out there, why is it not bad anywhere else? It still crosses the river in many places. It doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know.
And
And
that
they're gonna
document that the KCC talked about this, on gas pipeline safety issues, it's like a 400-page nightmare to read, but, anybody could find a compliance issue to move it. So that's why I'm interested in it. You know, why in the location, it doesn't make sense.
Well, I don't know whether they told the other two, but they told me that, because I had them do some research on why we weren't notified. And so they came back and said, well, we don't, until the survey's done, there's nothing to tell you, really, at this point.
Well, they have to comply with the Pipeline Safety Commission, so maybe you can start there if you want to get that information on that.
Oh, even the KCC can't even get the information on that. That's how much power the utility companies have on doing these things. So that's why I'm saying I think the counties need to have more pull over, you know, more information before a utility company
Well,
comes
we
in and tries to
tried,
do.
and that's-
You know, it doesn't make sense to me.
No, it didn't. And they apologized, but once the surveying's done,
Did you talk to One Gas at all?
that's who these people work.
Oh, I thought you said it was Kansas Gas
It's
Service.
Kansas One Gas.
Okay,
And they get all their gas from Lone Oak out of Tulsa.
okay. Yeah,
But
that,
there's nothing secret. They're not trying to, I mean, it is a compliance issue, with old piping.
well, I beg to differ when you say it wasn't a secret. Well, it's a secret because when we tried to contact SMH Engineering out of Manhattan, we were not allowed to know who was pushing this, this plan out here on our property. None of us were allowed to know. Specifically.
What, do you have the letter that was sent to you guys back in April?
Yeah, you guys have it.
Oh, yeah.
You guys have all that
April
information.
16th.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
got-
saying.
And then we had the KCC letter, that's what I was reading. Okay.
Well, anyway, I'll drop that issue because I'm gonna take it to the city too, so they're aware of it too. Maybe get a little more of the facts. But, and the other thing that I'd let you know, you remember the 3 mile zone around the city? Did you hear what happened on that one? The Speaker of the House blocked the interim committee. Remember when I was upset with the
Oh, yeah.
KAC? Jay Hall and the other gentleman out of Wichita? I don't know who you can get to support, you know, counties like us, you know, that aren't citified counties, you know, because it seems like we have no pull, you know, we're pretty much ruled by.
I thought Jay Hall, that was left for some more investigation with all of that.
That was why they were doing the interim.
Right.
That's why they were doing the interim
Right,
committee.
and then they-
But no,
well,
it's been blocked, specifically blocked. And that is a term I have been allowed to use and say, so, from other representatives. So I just wanted to let you know that, and I don't know where, you know, what, like I said, counties like us, you know, who have a good county population, a rural population. Where do we go for those to support us where, you know, cities already have home rule? How do we, you know? And the Attorney General, he even wrote up in his opinion that they are violating our constitutional rights, and that was a big issue down there in Topeka. So,
Well,
just so you're aware of it, I just wanted to let you know, when I was upset with the KAC this spring, that's exactly why, because we knew where this was headed. So, and that's all I had to say. Thank you.
We can start right away, or are we gonna?
whenever
Got
can.
5 more minutes.
I'm gonna run down the hall too. Run down the hall.
Or walk.
Betsy, would you look at statute 121698, please? Paragraph D. When you have time, where, yeah. Sure. Because I read it, that it says that information from the reports that you get from the state is only available for the, I read it, it says the county clerk, or the city clerk, treasurer. And then it says to any other finance officers designated to receive information by the governing board, so that means that we can designate her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. In this meeting. The transient?
Yeah.
I think I'm already on there. I know I can do sales tax, so I'm pretty sure I can do
Yeah.
the transient, I think.
Yeah, do we need to designate you to do that, or does we need to just? I mean, so.
I don't really know.
Because, yeah, I mean, it was really sticky.
It's like, I don't know if, maybe Sherry did it. Maybe Sherry gave him my name. I'm not positive. Honestly, I don't.
Well, I just thought you should have it.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we needed that information, that you should be able to get it. And that's when I was reading that, I thought, well, that's she can get it. I know that they're.
Well, when we were doing all that CID stuff with Acorn is when I was using it.
Oh,
Was
okay.
pulling a lot of that information and I think we were trying to figure out where that error was.
Yeah, so with that transit, yes, those reports and everything, all of them were reason, I just want to make sure that everybody that's questioning it, that you're able to look at it too, that.
Yeah, I'd like to have a discussion.
She would be able to provide some of that, but we still wouldn't be able to know, but she would be able to, yeah, the commissioners can't have the information, it's just the finance people that are privy to it.
Yeah, you have to,
Yeah, it's gonna.
take that oath or whatever for the confidentiality and stuff. Mr. Chairman, are you ready?
Yes, I am, if you are.
All right. Good afternoon, Tammy Robinson, Finance Director. This is our first budget work session after everything's been presented. So this pulls all your numbers together. This will be a discussion with not only the general fund information, which is affected by the ad valorem, but also the fire budget worksheet that provides that same information, because we will need to exceed revenue neutral for that as well, unless you make any changes to their budget. So this first worksheet in front of you is the 2026 budget developmental worksheet that reflects the expenditures. On this page is a 2-page document. This second page, it gives you your budgeted revenue on the left side, and it gives you your budgeted expenditures with the calculation of the mill and what it comes down to for what would be required for the ad valorem tax. In that ad valorem tax, it also includes a 1.8% delinquency, which is provided from previous year information the clerk has when they're doing their levy documents. In addition to that, we do have the NRP program. So in the budget worksheet, the state worksheet, it actually has a nice little calculation where you can put your information in, and it provides you with the information to tell you how much money that you need to adjust because of that in your levies. So with that, you can see the amount for ad valorem tax that would be required is $18,741,627, which is right here. And then right below that, that gives you your total mills needed, which is equivalent to the 59.428. And that's in taking your value of a mill, adjusting it for those dollars you need, and then you end up with the 59.428 in your calculation. The following line does show you that that's 4.771 higher than the previous year. And then in the little pink box, this is your revenue neutral mill rate information. So the revenue neutral mill rate as calculated in the clerk's office was the 52.502. So we are over that revenue neutral by the 6.926 mils. And if you equate it to dollars, the revenue neutral dollars should be the exact same dollars from the previous year of what you levied. And if you take that into comparison with what our needs are now, it is an increase of $2,113,734. So the next document I just want to show you is the fire document. Same thing. Up here in the top, it shows you your revenue sources and it shows you your expenditures. Your revenue sources includes unencumbered cash in this instance, the expenditures that have been proposed in the budget, the delinquency computation, and then what your ad valorem needs would be. And so right here, this 8.775 is what the fire district is requesting on their budget for 2026. So right below that, it just shows you what those mills and those dollars are. It shows you what your revenue neutral mill rate is, your revenue neutral dollars, which again would be exactly what you levied in the previous year. And then if you take that difference, it's a 3.857 mil increase and 254,156 in the dollars. On the fire side, I'm not sure if Geary is in here. So when he presented his budget, one thing that he had increased his information was for equipment. And so one thing he's been working on is his capital equipment items. And on his budget, he did have that additional request for equipment needs. And so that is the major difference in his. The other thing that I do want to note is that in our insurance costs, previously, the general service budget had been paying for everything, no matter what department, what fund it was in. Geary does have fire stations and he does have fire equipment, and those should be paid with the fire budget. So we have adjusted that, and that has increased his budget also for those insurance costs. So those are the main things that do affect the fire budget. And then lastly, this document I just want to bring up is the appropriation request in history. So this gives you the information from 2022 to date, what was approved through 24, and then 25 you have requested and approved, and then 26 you have what has been requested. Clear to the right, it tells you what fund it has historically been paid from. I do know that there's been some questions about the community involvement team, questions and discussion, and so previously, those dollars have been paid out of the special alcohol fund. It does not mean that it has to all be paid out of there. It could be at your discretion, funded from the general fund as well. So those are the main things that I wanted to bring to your attention. Now, if we go back to this general page, I just want to note a couple of things. On this second page here, you can see the beginning cash, this $9,313,597 in 2025. That's our unencumbered cash that we expected to come through in 2025. In 2026, we're expecting 7.3 million. The biggest difference between those two numbers is that 1,250,000 that we've already moved into the CIP and the facility funds. If you add those back in, you're pretty close, a lot closer than this difference. Down here at the bottom on your total resources, if you look at the 15,348,000 and you compare it to the 14,337,000, that difference is just over $1 million. And again, that overall is due to those transfers that we've already done in 2025. On the expenditure side, you can see the 31.5 million in 25 and the 32.6 million in 26. That's an increase of 1.1 million. And that's made up with an overall increase of the 3 Cs of 699,325. Personnel proposals increased 851,541, which include a 1% COLA, 3% step, and the 27th pay period. Of those 3 C increases, 250,000 of that is for the reserve balance increase that we've been doing per policy. Transfers and appropriation requests decreased 419,000 and 28,000 respectively. And so if you look at this worksheet, on the second page here, this is the breakdown by department. And I did want to note when you're looking at this on the top, these are voluntary decreases based on the information you had me provide to the departments. So the attorney, clerk, election, emergency management, finance, human resource, treasurer, and then that CIP transfer. We didn't ask for the extra 500,000 that we've been putting in because we had already done that 1 million. Three Rivers Food Pantry, the Junction City EMS appropriation, Agency on Aging appropriation, juvenile detention appropriation, those all decreased. So the total voluntary decreases were 717,689, largely 500,000 from that CIP transfer. That's a one-time adjustment. So next year, when we would come back, you would not be able to expect an additional 500,000 if we want to keep our CIP healthy and able to keep funding our equipment, our buildings. So that is a one-time savings. You wouldn't want to see that every year. In fact, had we not already moved the $1 million at the beginning of 25, I would have come to you and asked to put in $1 million to CIP. Because if you look at our document that we have for unfunded and you look at the next several future years, we're asking for over $1 million all of the years except one. And that one is subject to change as well. And so only putting in the 500,000 is not going to be conducive to funding our CIP. So then at that point, you would have to make those tougher decisions on what you're willing to fund and what you want to say no to. So there's a trade-off everywhere you are looking on this, and it's a decision only you as the governing body can make. But I do want to make sure that you know that that's not something that's going to be a savings every year.
Did I read this right? You're using 1.8% for a delinquency rate?
Yeah, and on the sheets that Courtney sends out, it gives you the historic rate, which for the general fund is 1.77%.
Seems like we always used it three.
We used to set it at 4.
Yeah, we used to.
And you can go higher, but if this is our historic, there's really no reason to fund an additional, because the 1.8% is over 300,000, so it's over $1 million already. 1.8%. But good questions. And you know, likewise on Gary's, I think we have in, I feel like it's a 3% on his.
Yeah, I think I did see that as well in Gary's deal when I went back to look at his.
So those are adjustments we can make, but then you're gambling on whether, you know, you're going to get all your funding or you're not. And then, you know, the higher percentage you put in there, then you're going to push your taxes up as well. So the second down here on the bottom where it's talking about your factors to general fund mill increase, your estimated revenue sources were lower largely, again, due to the change in the unencumbered cash. We do have that step and COLA in the 27th pay period. That equates to $851,541. Of that $851,541, almost $600,000 is just for the 27th pay period. Your COLA is 1%, so that's about $150,000. And the difference between there, if you look at it and your percentages aren't lining up completely, you've got to remember that people have left, people have come, wages have changed, benefits have changed. And so the differences between your wages are not necessarily 3% because of the changes within the staffs. And we don't just take a flat 3% and increase from previous year. We're taking what we're really making, what the benefits are, and we're adjusting it based on that. So that does have an impact when you're looking at the numbers. The sheriff's contract, which I think he talked to you in depth about that on the food and the inmate. Specifically, the inmate contract was like 180 or 190,000, and it's going to be closer to the 400,000 mark. And so largely the difference in his budget is that inmate contract cost when it comes to the 3 Cs. The district court brought a server increase, and when you look at it compared, it was a $50,000 increase for the server, but when you look at what their last year's budget is, this is the net impact, just under 30,000. And then in the general services budget, we have increases in contracts, insurance, that's your property, your liability insurance, which they had told me was a 15% increase, to expect a 15% increase. The coroner contract, indigent panel, all of those are contracts that we have to deal with. In addition, you know, we also have to look at utilities. We have paper, we have postage. We did get an email just recently from the newspaper letting us know that their rates are going to be increasing, so that's an additional $1 increase. We have the general service reserve increase of $250,000. That's also something that an adjustment could be made, but just remember that if you make an adjustment here, it's a one-time adjustment because we still haven't got to our level of the 3 million by policy. So you can make 1-year adjustments, but you're gonna have an impact the following year. So it's not gonna be a savings that's year after year after year. So you just need to keep that in mind when you wanna look at making those types of decisions. And then we had the general service transfers to the economic development and the health department increased 80,609. We had other department increases. Some of them were relatively small, but they're there, and to be completely transparent, they're listed. So the BOCC, for instance, you had a $50 increase to your 3Cs. GIS, Register of Deeds, and Register of Deeds talked to you in depth about her increases and the adjustments based on the technology and how much money she's bringing in compared to how much she's asking for ad valorem tax dollars. So that has been discussed. And then Public Works had a small increase. Other appropriation increases was Attabus, Big Lakes Extension, Historical Society, Pawnee, Silver Haired Legislature, 40 and 8 Votor. Those totaled 81,452. So your total factors of the mill increase is 2,831,423. When you net those two, that's your 2.1 million increase for what's provided on the second page of this document. The 2.1 million. So I wanted to make sure you had all the factors to show you where your adjustments have been made and how they are impacting the overall. One other thing I would just like to note is, we've done a lot of scaling back and making our budgets very realistic and not overfunding them. And, there could still be some places we can cut for sure. I'm not saying there's not. But when you do that and you have your budget set up in that way, then when you have these kinds of changes or these increases, like the 27th pay period, it has a big impact on your budget. So not that we haven't been doing a good job in what we've been doing with our budgets, but this is the repercussion of it when you have something that comes up like the 27th pay period. One other document that I did provide you with was a document that shows you the value of the mill up here to the right. And then it shows you the number of employees, and that's important in the scheme of their overall budget because personnel is a large part of all of our budgets. And then also the percentage of what that personnel budget makes up in their total budget. I've also put in the proposed revenue that the different departments have coming back in against them. General services, that is for everything, your motor vehicle taxes, everything that's not connected to a specific department other than ad valorem that we're calculating for. And then you have a net proposed budget here based on the revenue less the expense. Actually, I should say the expense less the revenue, as my brain just heard that. So you can see the proposed budgets, and then what I wanted you to be able to see is how many mills that takes by department, by appropriation request, by transfer, just so you could see where the dollars are going. And two key components to this is the sheriff's office and the public works. You already know there are two biggest departments. You also know that they are both public safety, and public safety is very important to the mission that the county serves. And so I guess my main point in saying that is I don't want you to look at those two budgets and just say we need to cut them, because that's not necessarily the correct answer. You have to look at what services do they provide and what detriment would you be giving to the taxpayers by making those cuts before we make any decisions. I did pull last year's just so you could see for a comparison. And the sheriff last year actually had 29.149 mills allocated to them. This year it's 28.721. Our value's higher. But when you look at it in perspective, the sheriff's mill need is actually less than last year. And that's largely due to his revenue base that he has coming back in against it. It's higher than what we budgeted last year. Last year, Mr. Kaufman budgeted $449,000 in revenue. And at this point in time, we've already received $421,000 in 2025. So we're certainly gonna hit that 449. I don't know how much more beyond that, but that tells me that we probably did not budget revenue the way we should have budgeted revenue last year. And when you look at Public Works, last year it was 11.773, and this year it's 11.131. And again, that's largely due to the revenue. The city and county highway sharing money that comes in is higher, and so that's what that difference is.
What did the 27th pay period equate out to?
600.
$591,034. And your 1% is 152,147. We've talked about the budgeted revenue, and what we need to be looking at. A couple of things I do want to point out is on the sales tax, I did keep it at the 2.4 million. And the reason I did that is because we've had over $3 million in sales tax in 22, 23, and 24. So even if we keep it at 2.4 million, we have a $600,000 difference from what we've been collecting. And so I think that should not create an issue in our overall dollars. Investment income, I did increase that to $600,000. In 2024, we received 1.2 million, 2023, 1.5 million, and 2022, we had 787,000. We've really expected it to drop off in 2025, even part of 2024, and it did. It decreased 300,000 in 2024 from 2023. But at this point in time, we're at 413,769. So we're already over what we had budgeted. And so I am again comfortable in leaving that at 600,000 for our investment income. And would even hope that maybe we get a little more than that, but I don't want to be too optimistic and end up having to use reserves for that difference. And the interest and penalty on tax is another one. And that one could potentially be adjusted, but again, I mean, unless you have a crystal ball, you don't know what you're going to get in on interest and penalties necessarily. And we collected just over 200,000 the last 3 years. So I think 175 would be the best decision to stay with on that. I've given you a lot of information.
And it also,
Department heads have all come to support and to be able to answer questions if you have anything for their specific department. And if there are any questions for any that are not here, I did let them know that I would have you let me know when you'd like a time for them to come back in and answer questions.
No, I commend those, for the voluntary decrease. That amounts to a whole lot. In my mind, I always worry too, to stay very conservative because, we've been fortunate that our valuation has increased over the years, but unless Travis has something that he I mean, what's we don't have a crystal ball necessarily, if the valuation goes down next year, whatever, our picture could be a whole lot dimmer. So I think we need to be cognizant of the fact that, some of these, the increases that we are looking at, that we keep them minimal because, that could happen. Yeah, because we haven't had a tremendous amount of growth, Travis, and, this, I mean, what do you,
But
what's your,
values don't set budgets.
right?
Correct.
I appreciate the information, Tammy. It's very, very good. I was reading over the weekend and stuff, and I could.
Makes it so much
understand all
easier to
that you
figure
say.
it out.
But yes, you've got put it together very nicely. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for those who did that. We have a lot of work to do and, I knew, last couple of years, I think our budgets have been fairly easy, but this one's probably gonna be the most challenging that we have so far since Tammy's been here, so. But yeah, we have our work cut out for us and, to try to see where we can be most efficient.
Well, one thing I do want to note is that on or before July 20th, we have to let our county clerk know if your intent is to exceed revenue neutral. And so we do have that deadline between now and then that we have to be able to at least answer that question. And is there anything else that you would like me to bring or have available?
Now, Tammy, what happens if the fire budget exceeds the?
It's the same as ours. They just have to go through the extra budgeting and, people have a chance to talk in favor or against and.
Library's not going, but if they were going up,
Okay,
then
okay,
you'd have to have.
Library and water and sewer, those three are not exceeding revenue neutral. So just the general budgets and the fire budget.
Well, when are we gonna have our next,
I can come back tomorrow if you need me to come back tomorrow.
well, we definitely are gonna go over budget or revenue neutral. I mean, there's no if, ands, or buts.
And we did that last year, but then we pared it down.
Right. And that's why, on this worksheet that shows you by mills, because if you're thinking that you're going to, let's just say, and this is completely hypothetical, let's just say you want to get rid of the transfer to facilities. Then you can see that makes up a 0.822 of a mil. And so if you're really wanting to slash something, that's maybe not going to get you where you want to go. So knowing the mills that are being requested should help you in determining maybe the function of where you want to be looking. But like I said, in looking at this, a large part of this increase is that 27th pay period.
Yeah.
And that can't be avoided in any way or form. I would also encourage the very first place to look would be our outside agencies. And the reason I say that is not because I don't think they're worthy, but because we have to take care of the people inside these doors that provide the services for the county. And so I would encourage that's one of the first places that we look.
Can I ask a question? This is the place. The 27th pay period is 590-some thousand. What's, give or take, the mill equivalent to that? Like how many mil? That's like 2 something mils.
2 mils.
No, it's not quite 2, because our value is 315, but it's close.
Yeah.
It's close.
And how often do we have a 27th pay period?
About every 11-ish years, not very often, probably
So
never.
it's like a couple mils we gotta eat this year, but
Mhm.
probably not gonna see it for another long time.
Except that when you look at next year, it's gonna be pretty much flat, because what we make, this is pretty much equivalent to what an overall raise is.
But
So there will be no savings next year unless they don't give any raises next year. Good question. You know, one of the things I do, there's a little example right here that shows you what the tax increase would be to someone who owns a $200,000 appraised value house. The assessed value would be $23,000, which is at 11.5%. And so when you take that 23,000 times 1,000 times the 6.926 increased mill rate, it's $159.30. And same thing with the fire. If you look at theirs and you have a house example of the 200,000 appraised, 23,000 assessed, it gives you an $71 increase.
So it'd be about $13 a month.
So, most of the time when newspapers write about stuff, this is what they put in here as an example of what your taxes could be increased. And so just gonna give that out there right now so you know, and that's what we're looking at. Now, I don't know if we can say what the average value of a house is, but if it's around 200,000, then
I was gonna say.
that's what you would be
200,000,
looking at.
yeah.
And then this is an average, so again, it goes without saying that that does not mean that it's the effect on an individual's house, because theirs could be higher, theirs could be lower, their increase could be different, a lot of different factors, so you can't just say that everybody is going to have this increase, because depending on their value, it could be different. And that's something that people need to remember is they can't look at it and say, well, this is what you said it was going to be, and then that's not what it is, because this is an average.
So if we already know that we're gonna be over revenue neutral, when is the drop dead date for them finalizing?
It's October 1st, no matter what now. They changed that this year.
No, you mean about the notice, sending out the notice, what we're gonna send the notice,
No,
of what
I'm
it
not.
is?
No,
Oh,
she's-
The
okay.
budget due date.
Oh.
Before, if you weren't exceeding revenue neutral, your budget was due August 25th.
Oh, I
But
see.
this year, they've changed it, so no matter what, it's October 1st due to the clerk. The only thing we have to remember with that October 1st is we have to back into publishing 10 days prior to the hearing. And your hearing has to be held September 10th.
For the hearing.
I think it has to be held to September 20th. Is it August 1st to September 20th?
So our letters have to be in the mail by August 10th.
But the actual hearings have to be held, I think it's between August 1st and September 20th.
I have it on my note. Let me go grab it.
So if you back into those dates, there's we have to have it ready way before that October 1st.
Right.
Because Courtney has to have it in the mail at least 10 days prior to the hearing. We have to have it published at least 10 days prior to the hearing. And then I have to be able to finalize the documents.
August 20th through September 20th.
So 20th to the 20th.
No, I was something else.
Is there anything specifically you want me to be looking at, to bring back, to break down?
I mean, right off the bat, as far as, and I was just thinking of this when we were talking about it, the estimation on, I know you want to be really conservative on our revenue. But I think between all of the sales tax and the other revenue that we think we're gonna get, couldn't you eat up a mill in that?
Well, the thing is if we don't get it, then you have to take it from the reserves, and then we're even lower in the reserves than we wanna be. So I mean, sure, I can do it. I can put any number in there.
No, I know. I mean, I don't mean willy-nilly. I think we can maybe sit down and talk about it and see based on our averages and,
Yeah, and that's why I did go and pull those three, the interest income, the sales tax.
I think maybe we could eat up maybe a mill by adjusting some of those numbers.
I mean, like I said, we can do.
Yeah,
We can.
no,
we
I
can make
just,
the
it's
numbers
just something I
stay.
just thought about and, I thought with all, I think you said the interest, the sales tax and what was the other one?
The interest penalty on taxes.
Yeah, we could maybe eat up a mill there. Just trying to be,
Well, and again, those three things are contingent upon what people do,
Sure.
right? So, I mean, we could end up even lower than what's budgeted.
true.
I think our world is completely crazy, so I'm really worried about what interest income is gonna do.
Yeah,
And, we know that we have people, the troops deploying, and so, again, thinking of those things, I think they're going to have an impact on us, but I don't know exactly what yet.
I'm a gambler.
Yeah.
Rather than picking it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, I put the budget together, but you're ultimately responsible, so, I mean, that's where you guys have to determine.
Well, I was just throwing it out there, something to think about and maybe look at.
Well, and like I said, we can definitely do that. We can do a lot of one-time things, but
Sure.
it's that one time, and then you
Then
find
it
out what
messes
it
it
does,
up,
and then you
yes.
have to figure out how to fix it in the future years.
Yeah.
So those are the
Well, I'd
things,
like,
just to remember.
But we know that 27th pay period is a one-time thing.
yeah, I know, but it's also not gonna affect, I mean, it won't save us money next year because we're gonna give them, but we also have to raise it to give our employees a raise.
Right, it'll be flat
So,
next year
yeah.
from there,
Yeah.
or it potentially would be flat.
Well, I think,
Sure.
we as the community, or the commission have a lot of, things to mull over, and
Yeah.
I'd like to have a work session next week on it, if you guys, that sound.
I
right
was
with
just
our-
asking Teresa, we have a pretty light agenda next week, so if we want to do it during our normal Monday meeting.
So, I mean, I already have numbers I can send you from 2016 to current on those sales
Yes, please
interest
do.
penalty. So I can get that information to you. Anything else that you're wanting to look at?
Not right now, but if I think of something, I'll.
Yeah.
What were you talking about, Trish? Sales tax and.
Sales tax,
Interest.
interest on our CD stuff,
And then the
accounts, and
interest and
then
penalty,
and then the, what else?
interest and penalty on taxes.
On taxes, penalty on taxes.
And I think everything else you have the composite of the agency funds, you have all the detail with the departments totaled together. You have the mill impact. But if there's anything else, let me know. I'd be happy to pull some more information together to talk about.
Yeah, I appreciate the agency appropriations because I can't always remember all of those. So I appreciate you putting those separately on there because I personally agree with what you say. We need to focus on county services and take care of the county. And then unfortunately, as much as I like and support all the agencies, that I think sometimes that's where also that we need to look at for making.
Now we are required to do extension,
Yeah,
EMS, and mental health.
right, yes.
But not necessarily at the level they're requesting.
No, I
So-
agree with you on that.
So that's your other caveat to that.
Mhm. Yeah, I didn't know though until I became commissioner that the extension was required. But yes, you're right, it's not today.
All right, well, if you want to let me know, you can send me an email if there's anything else specifically. Otherwise, I'll be bringing back all these same documents in addition to the revenue items that we just talked about. And yeah, that should be it. Again, Commissioner Fremont brought up the delinquency rate. That's another place where, you can get rid of it and get rid of a mill. But again, if you don't get the tax dollars in, you have to rely on your reserves. So there's a lot of places that are a one-time fix, but it will come back to haunt you in future years.
Well, I think there's always gonna be delinquency, so
Right.
we gotta have something.
Right,
And,
yeah.
looking at the history.
I thought it was
why you
just a
put
little
that way.
bit lower. It seems like we always had higher delinquency rates used in our budgets as well.
Yeah, but if you go by the history, I would,
Right.
setting
Yeah.
it like that.
Yes.
Yeah, in the county clerk's budget information, it pulls the information from the 23 tax, which affects the 2024 budget, and that was the 1.77%. Now your
Which actually
specials,
I did.
they were 3.21% delinquent, but the regular was 1.77%.
Well, those are probably on the empty lots that don't, the special you said, it's probably on the empty
Well,
lots.
it's the special assessments.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right.
Are those directly related, the delinquency rate and the fees and interest from delinquent property taxes? Because if
They are
they-
going to be, yes.
Right, because if your delinquency rate goes down, then that revenue from that will go down as well, right? So they're,
But then you also have, that's delinquency rate, but we also, on anything that we're collecting delinquent, we get that interest and tax.
Okay, well,
So we're planning next Monday as well. Okay, yeah.
and then we'll see what,
Probably 11. How much time do you want to talk about this? An hour,
It's 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Or do you just want it at the end?
Yeah, just do it at the end so we don't have to.
Yeah,
well,
I agree.
otherwise you're just sitting around and waiting.
Big
till
idea.
after.
I don't have anything from 11 to noon.
Well, we can do 11 to noon and then come back after if we have to.
Yeah, we can do it.
Well, I don't think we're gonna get it all hammered out next week, but
If you're prepared, we might.
Do your homework, Keith.
I get out my yellow marker, right?
No, you really need a red one.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't even know. Well, thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Next Monday, I will not be present. That is our Branson week.
Won't be here next Monday at all.
Why did you not be here for the work session?
No, oh, that's 21st, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, yeah, I thought I said, no, I'd be here. I would, 21st, I just said, look,
So we'll have to change, if you are gonna be here. I will make a recommendation to go into executive session for 15 minutes with the county attorney, HR, and legal in regards to non-elected personnel.
I did wait, Krista was hanging out.
Do I hear a second?
Yes, and just have some stuff unless you need some.
Moved and
You're
seconded
welcome.
for executive
You're welcome.
session, 15 minutes. right? Is that what?
Yeah.
150?
I don't want the legality on, but.
They always go over.